Have you ever just, stopped and thought about how wild it is that you exist? I mean, of all the genetic coin flips, all the random twists and turns of life, all the choices that were made, they all led to you, right now. It's this huge, fascinating riddle, and today, we're going to dive into the science that tries to solve it.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all. How did you become, well, you? And I don't just mean your personality or what you do for a living. I'm talking about the whole shebang. Your body, your thoughts, your feelings, your relationships, every single piece of the puzzle that makes you, you.
So there's a whole field of science dedicated to answering that question. It's called developmental psychology, and its mission is huge: to study the systematic, orderly changes, basically the patterns of how we grow and mature across our entire lifespan. And yeah, I mean from the very first cell all the way to our last breath. So, how in the world do we start to unpack this lifelong journey? Well, we're going to do it by exploring the biggest questions that have shaped the entire field. We'll kick things off with the absolute classic: nature versus nurture. Then we'll ask, are you the driver or just the passenger in your own life? We'll look at whether we grow in clear steps or more like a gradual slope. And we'll debate if there's one single path for everyone or many. And finally, we'll see why any of this matters.
All right, let's jump right into the big one. This is, without a doubt, the most famous debate in all of psychology. It's a question people have been wrestling with for centuries.
At its heart, this debate is a showdown between two really powerful ideas. In one corner, you have nature. This is the idea that who we are is basically written in our DNA, the genetic blueprint we get from our parents. And in the other corner, you have nurture, the idea that we're shaped by our world, our families, our friends, our culture, and all of our experiences. Now, the biological perspective is firmly on team nature. It says our development is a function of our genetic inheritance. From this point of view, our genes provide the master plan, and the main engine of our development is just the natural unfolding of that plan over time. But then, you get this powerhouse of a counterargument from John B. Watson, a huge name in behaviorism. This quote just flips the whole thing on its head. It says the environment is the supreme force. So from this angle, sure, your genes give you the raw materials, but it's your experiences and your upbringing that actually builds you into the person you become. Okay, so that whole debate about outside forces, genes versus the environment, it leads us right into our next big question. What about us? What's our role in all of this? When it comes to your own life story, are you in the driver's seat or are you just along for the ride? Let me put it another way. Just think about your life. Do you feel like you're the architect, actively building who you are, making choices, seeking things out? Or does it feel more like you're a piece of clay, just kind of being molded by everything and everyone around you? This is what scientists call the activity-passivity controversy. The active role idea sees people as curious explorers, always poking and prodding our world, making choices that literally shape who we become. The passive role, on the other hand, sees us more like sponges, just passively soaking up whatever the world throws at us. And you can totally see how different fields in psychology line up on this. You've got thinkers like Jean Piaget or Abraham Maslow who saw us as active drivers, always building our own understanding or trying to reach our full potential. But then you have behaviorists like Watson again, who saw us as passengers, with our behavior being shaped almost completely by outside forces.
So, we've talked about the source of our development and our role in it, but what about the pattern of change itself? Does it happen smoothly, little by little, or does it happen in big, sudden leaps?
The continuity view says development is a smooth, gradual process. The best way to think about it is like a little sapling slowly growing into a giant oak tree. Or maybe like walking up a long, gentle ramp. The change is steady, and you're basically just becoming more of what you already were. No big dramatic transformations. But then you have the total opposite, the discontinuity view. This is less like a tree and more like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. It's not just getting bigger, it's changing into something fundamentally new. This view sees development as a series of distinct stages, kind of like climbing a staircase. Each step, infancy, childhood, adolescence, is a whole new level of thinking and being.
All right, let's get to our final big debate. This one is all about scope. Is there one single universal roadmap for human development that pretty much applies to everyone on Earth? Or are there thousands, maybe millions, of unique paths?
So here's the difference. The universal view says that the really important stuff, the big milestones of development, happen in the same order for everybody. A great example is learning to talk. Most kids start babbling and forming words around the same age, no matter where they are. But the particularistic view says, hold on, our journeys can be wildly different based on our unique lives and, really importantly, our culture. Okay, so we've worked through these 4 massive debates: nature versus nurture, driver versus passenger, steps versus a slope, and one path versus many. And yeah, it can feel like a lot of conflicting ideas. So where does that leave us? And more importantly, why does any of this actually matter outside of a classroom? Here's the most important thing to get. Today, most psychologists have moved past these either-or arguments. The real answer, it turns out, is that development is this incredibly complex interaction of all of these things. It's a dynamic dance between our genes, our environment, our own choices, and our culture, all weaving together to make us who we are.
But, okay, let's bring this back to you. Why is it actually useful to know about this stuff? How does understanding these big debates help you in your actual, real life?
Well, this isn't just theory. Understanding this stuff has huge practical value. It helps parents and teachers know what to expect from kids. It helps us figure out how to respond when things seem off track. But maybe most importantly, it gives all of us a framework for understanding ourselves, for dealing with the big changes we all go through, because this journey, it never really stops.
And that's really the final critical point. Remember that definition from the beginning? Development continues until death? You're still developing, right now, as you're listening to this. Your story is not done. So, knowing everything we've talked about, this complex dance of nature, nurture, and your own choices, the question I want to leave you with is this: what's your next chapter going to be?